Hello, everyone, and welcome to HY Dyslexia live show. What a wonderful evening it is, and I want to welcome everybody to our live show. As I said earlier, all things dyslexia. Almost forgot my words for a minute. Very unusual, isn't it? Or very unlikely for me to forget words in that way. But good evening, good afternoon, good morning, no matter where you've joined us from. We want to say welcome to our live show, All Things Dyslexia. Now, we discuss all things here, all things, everything to do with dyslexia. This is the platform that we have the voice to speak about the challenges that we have, the positives about dyslexia, all the great work that we're doing within the community, and also our guests that we invite them to come on our live show to talk about the difference that they're making within the dyslexia community. Today's show, however, is titled Neurodiversity and Me. And we have a lovely lady who I will be introducing her in a minute, who's going to be talking to us about her neurodiversity journey and where she is at the moment with that. But before we actually dive straight into the show, I'd like to thank Black Funding Network for funding our live show, and also they funded our award ceremony that happened in October. If you did miss that award show, not to worry, the videos will be coming out very shortly, and you will be able to watch them on our website and also on all our social media channels. My name's Elizabeth Tetchi. I'm the founder and the CEO of HY Dyslexia. And this evening show, we're in London, so I can say this evening, it is going to be absolutely, and what's my favorite word? Phenomenal. I use that word every day, don't I? Don't ask me to spell it because I will struggle to do that. But I want to introduce Saidata Sesay, who is a digital broadcaster and a journalist as well. And she works for the BBC. And I read a little bit about her. Her biography is right in front of me. Siddhartha Sase is dyspraxic and has got dyspraxia and dyslexia. She's a digital broadcaster, journalist at BBC News. She was diagnosed as neurodiverse on her last day completing university. I hear this all the time. It's always at university. So I always say, how did we manage before university? But Siddhartha will be able to speak to her about her journey. She's open about her diagnosis, as she wants to encourage other people that feel they might be different to seek help and see neurodiversity as a positive thing. Summary of the show today. So, like I said, Siddhartha was diagnosed with dyspraxia and dyslexia at university. She currently works at the BBC. I've already said that and mentioned that. And she's doing great work. Despite neurodiversity, she's actually thriving in the workplace. And she wants to speak to us today about why it's really important to embrace this condition, disability, learning difference, whatever you want to call it, and actually, reach the heights or reach your full potential. So I want to welcome Siddhartha. Siddhartha, welcome to HY Dyslexia Live. How
Hi,
are
Liz.
you?
I love that intro. Thank you.
Bless you. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. You're in London, are you somewhere, or are you
Yeah,
not in
I'm in
London?
Northwest
Oh,
London.
North West London, right? Okay, so you'll
hmm
be going through the weather that I went through today. Not that
Yeah,
bad today,
yeah, it
I
was
think.
sort of okay
Wonderful.
considering. Yeah, it's getting colder. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on to our live show. It's such a privilege to have you here because it's really important that, our voices are heard, particularly within the Black and, minority communities about
hmm
neurodiversity and all the other
Yeah.
hidden conditions that no one really sees, but sort of might make up their own assumption as to why are you so slow? Why are you doing it differently? Why is it
hmm
taking you forever to do that? Why have you taken
Yeah.
the back route to get to the result that everybody's got to?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
you, you know what we're like. We do it the
I
other way
heard.
around, but we get to the same result, don't we?
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm. Yeah. So I want
definitely.
to be able to give you this opportunity to introduce yourself to our listeners because
hmm
people do tune in from all over the world, if I can say
hmm
that. We are live on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and also on YouTube. So comments will be coming in as we're having this live show, and I'm going to hand over to you now. Yeah.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Saidata Sesay. I work for BBC Africa specifically, and I am a digital broadcast journalist. So my day to day is looking at African news and finding news that we can put out to make digital content. So we work with YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and some of my day to day is also looking at how many women and men we have, like type of content that we have, like how many women and men are in our content. Sometimes I'm editing, and sometimes I'm just producing, basically. I've been working at the BBC for nearly, I think I've been working there for 6 years, but
It's
it's
amazing.
flown, it's gone so fast.
Hmm.
I didn't even realize that. And yeah, that's me. That's what I do.
Wonderful. Now, you were diagnosed with dyslexia in your adulthood. Can I say adulthood
Hmm.
rather than when you were a child? Let's
Yeah.
take you back to growing up. Born in the UK, perhaps. I could be wrong. You correct me.
Yeah, I was born in London, born in
Mhm.
South London
Yep.
specifically. I'm a South London girl.
Yes, am I.
And
Yes.
yeah, I didn't know. I always say this to people, like before I was diagnosed with dyslexia and a mild dyspraxia, um, I remember when I was diagnosed and he said to me, "You've got like the clearest case of dyslexia and dyspraxia." I was like, that can't be true because I can read. And
Hmm.
in school, I was in advanced reading. I was reading quite hard books in primary school, and I was like, if I was, that should have been noticed, and why did no one say anything to me? But then I had that, like, I think for anyone that's been diagnosed, it's kind of, you just kind of have this moment where everything starts making sense and you start going through it, like all the events of the past. Like for example, when I was younger, I couldn't write ease. I used to like write like an O with a line in it. I couldn't write ease. And I realized that was like part of my dyspraxia. I didn't have the coordination to do that. I couldn't write ease and I wasn't able to, I still can't really do this, but when you have a book and you put like a margin in the book, I wasn't able to. Everyone else was able to do like a straight line in the book, and I was never, even with a ruler, it was still always a wonky line. And I remember my teacher not letting me out to play until I had learned how to do a straight line. It's a bit like traumatizing because all I
Yeah.
wanted to do was play. But
Mm.
he was like, "You're not going out to play until you learn how to do a straight line." But I think, like, I'm knowing what I know now. If I was a teacher, I would have been like, "Oh, I think that person has
Mm.
dyspraxia, maybe." It didn't take me a long time to ride a bike, but I remember struggling to ride a bike as a kid, and not being able to do certain, like, like when you're a kid and you're playing
Mhm.
like clapping games. I could never do that. That was always terrible for me because I couldn't do it really fast. It's like my brain was going faster than my hands, or my hands were going faster than my brain. It was never computing. And it's not until I read up on it after I was diagnosed that I realized, oh, these are like all the things that show clear cases of dyspraxia. In terms of dyslexia, the way it affects me is that, um, if you were ever to read my work, you would see that there were words missing. And so it's like my brain goes faster than the
Mhm.
way I'm
Yeah.
than when I'm writing. So you would see that there was just like lots of gaps in it. But I would read it back to myself and I would read it back perfect. But someone else would read it to me and they would be like, this doesn't make any sense. There's a missing word. And I'm like, oh crap. So I could read
Yeah.
something
Mm.
like 3 times and still not see the errors or the
Yes.
typos. And then it's not until I like leave it and go back to it, like maybe an hour later, and I read it, that's when I've realized the errors and the typos in it. But it's a really it's a I sometimes I feel like my dyslexia is a really weird one because it's uh, it's not what I thought it was, where I thought it was when you couldn't read, because that's what I thought dyslexia was, but I didn't know it comes in like so many variations.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I got diagnosed. I had a lecturer who was like, "Your essays are not matching what you're saying in seminars. This is really confusing us. Can you go and get a test done?" And I was like, "I'm not getting a test done. I'm not dyslexic. I can read." And I was really stubborn about it,
Yeah.
actually. Because I had like my whole like 4 years in uni. I every lecturer that I had told me to go and get this tested, and I didn't want to. And I think it's almost because I didn't want to believe it. And the person that I did know with dyslexia couldn't read, so I was like, it's just how my brain works. And when I did find out, I cried. It's like I grieved for myself,
Mm.
but I also felt relieved at the same time, because I was like, oh, this makes so much sense. But now I have to go into the world and figure all of this out. Now that I
Exactly.
know, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So what makes you? Why did you not want to go for the what? Why did you not want to go for the assessment? Was that because of stigma? Because of what people would say? Because you thought dyslexia looked different? Basically,
Mm.
you didn't see it as you would have dyslexia, but the person you knew that couldn't read have got dyslexia.
Yeah, I think like the people with dyslexia in primary school had to sit on the special table or had extra help at school. And I always I knew I was different, and I knew I struggled with some things because teachers had pointed it out my whole life. But no one had ever told me that this is what it was. I think a lot of people thought I was just the naughty kid who didn't like doing it like the way everyone else did it. And I just did it my own unique way. And yeah, I think because I haven't ever heard my mum or my dad talk about it, I think it was just kind of like finding out it now I know it's not a disability, but it felt like a disability, if you get what I mean. And I think that's something I didn't want to come to terms with. It's like, finding out about yourself and realizing that you're like, it's like you already know you're different, but finding out that you're different from a doctor, just I don't know, I think it just kind of puts things
Yeah,
into perspective.
I
Yeah.
hear this all the time. I mean, we've been running HY Dyslexia for 5 years now, and
Mm.
sometimes when people have been diagnosed with dyslexia, they just it's just like, really,
Yeah.
because I think you want to be able to see something physically, and it
Yeah.
isn't, is
Yeah.
it?
It's an
It's like,
invisible.
okay, yeah, it's
Yeah.
invisible. It's invisible, absolutely. And I think a lot of people say the word disability, they just didn't want to associate themselves with something like that. But
Mhm.
for me personally, that word disability, and because we're covered by the Equality Act 2010, was something I thought, in fact, for me personally, it is a disability
Mm.
because it hinders every part of my life. And
Mm.
like, because it's invisible, you can't see it. But it hinders, like, for example, my dyspraxia. Where are we going? What time are we going? Where is it going to be? Everyone's going one direction. I'm going the opposite direction to them. You know,
Yeah,
you
I
know,
know
and,
them.
and it's like, why are you so late? And I've been going around in circles and chasing my own tail to get to where you're going. So when I
Mhm.
go to, like, for example, if I'm at university or in a big building, I have to follow the crowd. Everyone's
Yeah.
going to follow them because otherwise I'm going to get completely lost in
Yeah.
that building. So it does hinder me in every part of my life. So I'm all right with the word disability. But I
Mm.
know that, especially the younger generation, I don't really want anything attached to this. Yeah, I don't want no one to know that there's such thing as
Mm.
dyslexia, and is it known as a disability. But hey, each one to themselves and how
Mm.
they view this particular learning difference or condition, so to speak. I just want to welcome Nessa. Hello, Nessa. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm not too sure where you've joined us from, but great to know where you've joined us from. But lovely, lovely to see you on this platform. And I think Nessa, I've actually put a comment there. I need to read my work back a day later to see my mistakes and words missing. Now, that's great because I would still read it a day, 3, 4, 5 days later, and still something, for example, the thing's not there, but the sum is there. So it's like, what you talking about?
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
example, and it can become really chaotic sometimes. But the strangest thing, Siddhartha, is I can proofread other people's work and spot their mistakes, but I can't
Ah.
proofread my own. And
Yeah.
and this
I
is
could.
where it gets really complicated for people because then you get questions like, but you just read my work. But
Yeah. That
it
was
can be
that
very
was
confusing.
that sometimes I feel like I face that problem where I think it's like there's times where I feel like I'm like quite high functioning, and then there's times where I'm like not very high functioning, and people are like, why, but you just did that thing the other day, what do you mean you can't do it? You can do it, you're just lazy or you don't want to. I'm like, no, you don't understand, guys. I actually can't do it, and it's not working, it's not computing, I'm not comprehending what you mean by that. And I think sometimes that's the frustrating thing, because I think people do want to help, but they don't know how to help you. And I'm like, I don't even know how to help myself.
Exactly.
I couldn't even tell you how to help me, because I don't know how to help me myself. So all I would want is some patience and some understanding, that I just have great days, and sometimes I don't have great days, and that's just that. Yeah.
And I just really want to welcome Afia Dankwa. I know exactly how you feel or felt, Sase, at school. I knew I was different in good. I knew I was different in a good way, and had an aha moment when I was diagnosed. Then it turned to what it is. Right. That was a bit of a mouthful for me to read, but I think other
I
people can read that
understand.
as well.
Yeah.
Now, Afia, welcome to HY Dyslexia Live Show. That's really great that you said that. And to be honest with you, I think the diagnosis is it's my ticket to success, is what I would say. Because from that, even though when I was diagnosed, and I didn't understand the diagnosis, by the way. I mean, it's this thick report, and I'm like, what would you do with this?
Oh my God, I remember that as well.
I kind of flipped through it and shoved it to one side, and I said, right, what help do I need? Let's move on from here, because
like,
none
can
of these.
you read it to me?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then when they did eventually explain it all to me, especially the back of the report, it had some sort of diagram and ratings. I thought, no, I don't want to know about that. What I do want to know about is what help you can give me so I can thrive in the workplace and in education. Now, I just want to say, if anybody's joined us today, we're speaking about neurodiversity and me. I'm actually going to dive to my first question after all that, which I'm going to actually speak to Siddhartha about what is neurodiverse. It's one word that I think, how do you spell it? Neurodiversity, neuro, whatever, so many versions of it.
Yeah.
And it sometimes blows my mind away. So over to you. What is neurodiversity in a nutshell?
Before I answer that, I'm just going to grab my charger.
No problem. Before, yeah, of course, that's fine. So, yes, today we're speaking about neurodiversity and me. And we've got the lovely Siddhartha, who's joined us from London somewhere. And we are speaking about dyslexia, dyspraxia, because that is her condition in one. And we were going on to talk about what is neurodiverse. There's so many buzzing words going around that academics use. And I know I struggle to spell a lot of those words. The neuro is a problem for me. Is it an E? Is it an U? Which one comes first? And of course, the diversity, and then you have neuro. I think there's another one called neuro minority, and neuro this and neuro that and neuro this, and it can be very complex. So what I normally say to people is, I have dyslexia, and people are right, okay,
Yeah.
and that's easier for them, because trying to explain neurodiversity, and I know that it's a spectrum of so many different conditions, because I have 4 conditions in one: dyslexia, dyspraxia, dyscalculia, and visual stress. The visual stress is when I put my glasses on when I was reading. Now, sometimes it makes me feel really, really antisocial, because it's on, and then I like to speak to people with eye contact and all the nodding and everything. But when this is on, it feels a little bit sort of cut off from the world, so to speak. However, it helps me to read. Now, it was also known as Erling syndrome back some time ago, but it's now visual stress. Not everybody with dyslexia will have these glasses or read and words are swimming on a page. So, Siddhartha, you can imagine when I was a child at school, and I would say to my primary school teacher, Miss, my paper's blank. And she was like, what planet are you living on? Why's your paper blank? There's words on that page. There was nothing for me. There was nothing on there, because we did a great podcast on visual stress.
Yeah.
And people can find it on our podcast, Acast, where I forgot his name, I think, but Bavin, he's I can't say the word, but he deals with eyes. And he's the person that was explaining visual stress and dyslexia. But over to you. So my first question is, what is neurodiversity?
I think my interpretation of what neurodiversity is where your brain functions in a normal way. It's just not the neurotypical or the neurostandard way, but it's actually just an umbrella term for things like ADHD, dyspraxia, dyslexia, the numbers one,
That one. Yeah, that one. Number one.
ADHD, autism, Asperger's. It's just an umbrella term for people. Basically, when your brain just thinks differently, it's not that there is a normal way of thinking. It's just not the standard or the typical way of thinking. That's kind of what neurodiverse is. And under neurodiversity, I have dyspraxia, diagnosed dyspraxia and dyslexia. Yeah.
So how does your dyspraxia affect you every day?
My dyspraxia affects me every day with because I feel like dyspraxia and dyslexia could be quite close. I think sometimes I have problems comprehending certain things. So you might have to just explain it to me a few times for me to have like absorb it in my head. So normally I just record things, or I love it when people send me voice notes, because then I don't have to read it. I can just listen to it. I think where my dyspraxia affects me, I think I've seen an improvement, but it's basically like your cognitive skills. So I spill things a lot. Like I just spill things, sometimes pouring things into a cup. I'm just probably gonna knock it or spill it. I still can't drive. I used to practice driving a manual car, and I did get quite far, and I realized it wasn't for me. And I think it was to do with like the fact that I'm dyspraxic. It was just a coordination thing that I just wasn't really good at. And it affects, I think it like before in the past, when I used to walk, I would say I used to knock into like poor people's car mirrors, just walking on the pavement. But those I would say are like the obvious ways it just affects me. I'm not very good at like certain dance moves. So if there's like a dance craze, I'm not really very good at them. Like knowing how to do them. I'm not great at that. Or I'm just a bad dancer. I don't know. But I know it is supposed to just like really affect your coordination. I have met someone who can't spread toast, spread butter on toast, and that's, I would say, might be an extreme form of dyspraxia. But I would say I was told I had a mild dyspraxia, and dyslexia as well. But yeah.
Wow, that's really interesting, because last week's show was about living with dyspraxia, and I think she mentioned similar things that she's going through. But I think it's really important that we have this kind of platform, or the platform that you've got, that you bring awareness about the neurodiversity conditions and so forth, particularly in the Black community. Now, I'm just going to go back to my first question and ask another question within that first one. What was the reaction of your parents when you came home to say, I've got dyslexia and dyspraxia? What did they say to you? Yeah.
Well, I remember telling, you know what, we haven't spoken about it since the first time I told them. But I told my dad, my parents are from Sierra Leone. I told my dad, and he said, "What's that?" And I explained to him, "What is it?" He was like, "You don't have it. They're just trying to label you with something." And I was like, okay. Well, that's the end of that conversation. It's like, you've seen my essays. Like when I was in uni, I was like, you've seen my essays. There was lots of like, my dad used to get annoyed with me and be like, you've got just so many typos and errors in this. So yeah, I think he kind of just didn't want to kind of maybe accept that that's what it was. I don't think they had really heard of it. And my mum was like, oh, well, okay. I think because I got diagnosed so late, my mum in her head was like, you've been doing fine and great up until now. So why do you need to? I feel like she felt like I was going to start acting like it, if you get what I mean. Like now that
And
I know,
had you been doing great? Perhaps not, because we
I
mask it really well, don't we?
I think I'm just very, and a lot of people who do have, when they live in a world where everything is kind of for neurotypical people, I think we're
Mhm.
amazing people because we have trained our brains so well to just adjust to how, a world that isn't really, you know, suited to us.
Mhm.
And but no, I do think there was a lot of things that I was struggling with, but I just
Yeah.
sort of like got on with it, but it was definitely really hard. It still is. And it still does affect me. I think I cry at least once a month.
Oh God, yeah. I think
Yeah.
you're better than me because I think I do it
Yeah.
every day. You
No,
know.
I talk about like at work. I say I have a Homer Simpson meltdown like every
Yeah.
more than once,
Yeah.
more than once a month. But like it does definitely affect me. And then I sometimes think like my life is only getting harder because I'm older. I wonder what it's going to be like when I have kids and when I've got more responsibilities and now that I'm adulting. But I think it's just kind of like I think it took a long time for me to accept that I had it. And once I did, I had to like, I felt like, okay, now that you've got it, you just have to accept that you have it. Now let's just keep going and just take life day by day and
Right.
deal with things as they come.
Of
Yeah.
course, yeah. That's really great. Thank you so much for those answers. I'm just going to go back to our comments now. Afia Dankwa, I think she had another comment just before this one. And it was something to do with, I think if our producer can let us have a look at it. Do your employers know that you are neurodivergent? Also, do they provide you with support?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
My employers do know that I'm neurodivergent. I feel like I work with an amazing team. And I've worked with like amazing people who know I'm neurodivergent and will always just try and accommodate me. I've got like special softwares put in place for me, so it makes my life easier at work. But like I was saying earlier, do you remember when we were talking about it's hard to know how to help me because I don't know how to help myself?
Mm.
Sometimes I feel like I have that issue. Like if there's times where I'm reading an article, I'm reading something, and it's too wordy, I will just have it. I will just use like my Dragon software that like plays it back for me. Or sometimes when I'm writing, I'll like speak into on Google. There's like this Google Voice thing where you can speak into the speaker and it will just type it down. And then you kind of have to go over it. And then on my phone, I have an app called Ginger, which is really good, and I use that every now and again. I would say though that I find because I've been living in a world where I've had to sort of just kind of cope. It's like I sometimes I choose the hard way than the easier way, and I don't always use my software. And then I get to a stage where it becomes really hard and I start panicking, and then that's when I turn to use my software because I'm like, you're just kind of ignoring that problem that you have that you're trying to not accept. And then I start using like all the tools that I have. But I also work with I have someone at work who like checks up on that I can check in with when I've got issues, but I'm quite an independent worker, I would say. But my work is extremely accommodating. There's so many people who are neurodivergent, and they all they got to do is talk to their adjustments at work, talk to their managers and an external company about the stuff that they need so that they can work to their greatest ability, which is what I have as well.
Wonderful. That's
Yeah.
really amazing because not everybody gets that support in the workplace.
No,
So
no,
I think,
because I have been in a job where that wasn't the case.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and I
So I think it
remember it.
depends on the employer, and I think BBC in general are quite good at maybe
Yeah.
supporting people with neurodiversity. I think. Yeah. So
Yeah.
thank you for that. I mean, Nessa's dropped another comment there. Only 2 months ago, I learned about neurodivergent. Right, great. I've got to spell the word, Nessa. I'm telling you. I stopped saying disabled, but I call myself neurointelligent. Oh, I like that. Or neuro
Very
incredible or neuro fabulous.
incredible.
Well, there's more words for you. Here you go.
Oh, that is lovely.
That's really, really lovely. Yeah. It's really lovely.
Neurofabulous. I might
I
use
like
that
that.
word. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Nessa. And that, of course, it depends on how people view that their learning differences. A question for everyone: what makes dyspraxia and dyslexia mild? I was
Mm,
diagnosed with mild dyspraxia and dyslexia, though I had to just say it as it is. Hmm.
mm,
Okay, so there's a spectrum of neurodiversity, dyslexia, dyspraxia, ADHD, autism, and so forth.
mhm,
Now, I've been running HY Dyslexia for the last 5 years. I've met people across my work and life
mm,
who have got severe dyslexia in the sense that they don't even recognize their own name. They
mm,
can't spell their own name, for example.
mhm,
And then across that, in the middle somewhere, there are people who can read, write, spell their own name, and do all the things that they can. And there are some people that've got dyslexia and doing really well with report writing and figures and other things. So it's on a spectrum of it. Now you
mhm,
will know if you're severe dyslexic. I mean, I would say for me, I think my dyspraxia probably hinder me to do a lot of things as well as my dyslexia. And like you said, Siddhartha, there are days when I think I don't even have to help myself because people go,
mm,
"How do I help you?" You can't. I don't know how
mm,
to. I don't know where to
mm.
begin with it all. And I think for me, what's even difficult is sitting down with someone, saying to them what I need doing. I don't know, 2, 3 hours, however long it does, and then trying to go back to do my daily task. Because for me, it's like, look, let me do it myself. It'll take me three,
Mm,
4, 5 hours. I'd rather do it myself than
yeah.
trying to explain what I need doing
Yeah,
to someone.
that's a task in itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So going back to what I'm not too sure if it was Nesse or Fia that asked that question, is there mild dyslexia? I would say, well, yes, because not everybody will be on the severe end. And
Yeah.
also just to say that dyslexia is genetic condition. So mum, dad, grandma, someone in the family would have had this condition and passed it on and
Mm,
passed on the gene. So that's something I wanted to also drop in there for our community to listen to that. So when our parents say, I don't know why, John can't read. I'm not too sure why John can't. Hang on a minute. Should we look at dad, mum, or grandma just to see how far, or granddad, see how far this goes? And that, we didn't pluck it in the air to have this.
yeah.
I know my
Yeah.
mum is so much in denial when she say, "Oh no, our family don't have nothing like that. We are born perfect." So well,
Okay. Yeah.
I'm not, mum. I have dyslexia, so to speak, and it does hinder me in so many different ways. So thank you, Afia, Elizabeth, for the clarification. Thank you so much. And there's so much literature out there about dyslexia, dyspraxia, and neurodiversity. You can read lots of literature on this. LinkedIn, there's some amazing people doing great work in the space of neurodiversity and so forth. And also,
Mm,
we're blessed to have Google, and you can always Google these things and read a bit more about what this condition is. So, Siddhartha, when you were diagnosed with this condition, were you struggling? And then obviously you found the help. How did it affect your mental health before the help
um,
came up by?
before the help, before I was
Or before
diagnosed.
or after, whichever way. Yeah. Mm.
Ooh.
Which,
um,
I mean, after, how was it? And before, how was it? Or
I
because you
think
didn't know you had dyslexia? Mm.
I think I think my mental health.
Mhm.
I think you go through, and most people that have been diagnosed will probably tell you this, like, go through this why me
Mhm.
moment of like, still do sometimes, I would say, of like, why me, why can't I think like everyone else, because you sometimes feel really stupid, and you're not stupid, and you're not stupid, but you just feel it. And like, sometimes there's looks that you've had from other people, and they're like, why does she do things like that, what's wrong with her? And like, she can't be helped, or she's just lazy, or she is difficult. And I think that has had, like, yeah, some like serious effects on my mental health. I'm lucky I do see a therapist, just so I touch in with someone every week, and we don't just talk about like my dyslexia and dyspraxia, but we talk about it enough, because I did find that I was really being really hard on myself. And, you know, when I was measuring success, I was always comparing myself to other people. And I had to stop doing that. I mean, you have to stop doing that regardless. But when you're neurodiverse, you're like, why does mine take longer than everyone else's? Like, why? What are they doing that I'm not doing? And why can't I do it like the way they are? And I think I see a therapist just to make sure that, you know, just to talk about like how I'm feeling, because there is a lot of like feeling of not feeling smart enough to do things and not wanting to apply for certain roles because you just think they're not going to be able to accommodate me. But I am dyslexia and I am dyslexic and dyspraxic, but I am a journalist, and that's something that I think a lot of people think that they can't get into. I think I wasn't gonna exactly go into journalism, but because I think I never thought I could be one because I wasn't a great writer or good at reading, and I didn't think I could be writing newspapers or reading the news. But like one thing I have done is I worked in a department where I did read the news, and I read the news every single day, and that's something I never thought a dyslexic girl like me would ever be doing, reading the news.
That's
And
really
so
inspiring.
yeah, and sometimes, but I have to remind myself of these things, because there's just days where, you know, when you're having like a bad, when you're having like, I call it like a bad dyslexic day, you kind of just are like, you're not gonna, I just, I always think, sometimes I look at my future and I'm like, am I gonna make it? Like I'm just barely like getting by. I'm winging it at life. I don't know how much more I can do this for, how much longer I can do this for. But you know what, I have an amazing support group of friends as well, who I can share like my woes with, and they understand me and they accept me and they give me a really good pep talk. So that's how I've been able to do it. One thing I would encourage is for other people to just share it. And once I feel like it's almost, it just takes a load off you. If you're keeping it a secret, it's too heavy, and you will get found out.
Found out.
Yourself will show.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's that.
Absolutely.
And it's just better to be transparent with other people, because like since I've been transparent, I've had so many people want to talk to me about it and tell me, oh, I think I've got dyslexia, I think I'm dyspraxic, I think I've got ADHD. And I think it's like giving more people encouragement. And one thing I did notice during lockdown online was a lot of people feeling like they were neurodivergent. And so it does feel really good to feel like, yeah, I'm not the only one, and there are other people out there, and I am fine, and people will make accommodations for me. So yeah.
I mean, if you just join us now, we're speaking about neurodiversity and me. We've got the lovely Saidata Sesay, who's joined us and speaking about her journey with neurodiversity, dyslexia, dyspraxia. And it's been a great conversation so far, and we're still going. We're still here live doing what we're doing. So someone's joined us from Facebook. Linda Francis, sounds like my daughter who also has dyslexia and dyspraxia. She's very hard on herself, belittles herself. She is so knowledgeable and intelligent. I know I hear this all the time. Linda, I hope that you will be able to keep watching our live shows or reach out to us for help. You know, and please, if you could speak to your little one and tell her not to belittle herself.
I want to hug her.
Yeah, I know, but there is hope, and you know, there's so much support out there. Like Siddhartha said, you know, she goes for the support that she needs in therapy. I've been for therapy, if I have to be honest. During the lockdown, I felt like my whole world was crumbling, because when we were in the office, I can go to someone's desk and ask for help. Well, I was on my own in my front room, and it's all right asking Google to spell, but what if I can't spell that word to ask Google to spell it? It's a catch-22. You know, I then quickly find another word, and it's like it doesn't fit into the sentence, and it's all over the
Yeah.
place. So yeah, it was very, very tough. But I just want to say, Linda, honestly, please do encourage your little one. Give her lots of hugs from us, and maybe you can, watch this program with her. And I don't know how old she is, and just to say that, look, we were once children, and here we are with
Mm,
dyslexia and dyspraxia, and there's hope. That's all I can say. There is hope. And honestly, do speak to the schools, your Senko, to the school teachers, and get all the support and help that you can get for your little ones, because it's very important. I've always said, if only my dyslexia, dyspraxia, and all the other dyses were picked up from when I was 6, I
yeah.
think I'd be a totally different person now.
That's what I say as well.
Yeah.
I wish I
Or
was.
7. Yeah.
If I was diagnosed early, I feel like I would have just had better support
Yeah.
back then, rather than just sort of trying to figure it out myself.
Yeah.
Because it felt, another thing I forgot when we were talking about mental health, it can feel extremely lonely. The loneliness is something I still deal with today. Like, I feel extremely lonely, and that sometimes weighs on me, because I'm like, why am I the only one? And I can't even explain how I am. You're just gonna have to take my word for it, and no one can help it. And because no one can help you, it just can, it's sometimes a bit soul destroying. But I think going to therapy, and also something that I do find helps with the dyspraxia, is sort of like brain training. So I do extracurricular activities, like, if you do, like, so for example, I do samba occasionally. Well, I try and do it weekly, and I ride my bike sometimes. Things like that can also, like, just help improve your dyspraxia
And your
and
mental well-being as
and your
well, I
mental
guess.
well-being,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, so I would say get yourself a hobby where you challenge yourself, and it's not about being like the best at it. Just do it. Do what you feel like doing.
Yeah. Because I know for me, what really knocked me was my confidence. A lot of people knew me as the bubbly, lively, jolly Lizzie. And it
Mm,
was like, oh my God, I was like, no, it's not like that. I'm in
mm,
this world where I just feel like nobody else understands. And if
mm.
they did, particularly in the Ghanaian community, it'd be like, oh, come on, listen, what's that? Don't claim that for yourself.
Yeah, don't claim it.
Don't
Yeah,
claim it.
yeah.
I don't know, what do you mean don't claim it? It's real and it's there and it's bothering me and I need help. So
Mm,
when I came out, I remember coming out publicly to talk about my hidden disabilities, and I just felt like the whole world would be against me. But then I got to a point in my life where I didn't care anymore. I didn't care what other people thought. For me, it was like, get the help you need and help others that need
yeah,
this help.
yeah, and it takes a lot to get to that point.
And it takes
So
a lot to get to that.
congratulations
Oh,
for
thank
getting
you.
to that.
And
Yeah.
same with you, for the great work that you're doing as well,
Thank
spreading the
you.
awareness of this condition. But just wanted to quickly go back to Afia Danka's little comment she's put there. So Siddhartha, I know how you were feeling. I've found another black girl at work who's got dyslexia and dyspraxia. We have monthly meetings to go through our woes. Oh, that's lovely. That's really lovely. Somebody else that
Thank
understands. That's really great. And I would
you.
encourage other people to do that. I know the BBC have got Neurodiversity Network, and they're doing
Mm,
lots and lots of stuff around neurodiversity, which is really brilliant. Other companies should be taking example and doing the
mhm,
same, and not see dyslexia as a failure or someone who's going to make a big mistake in the workplace. Because you and I know that there are pluses to having this condition, you know,
mhm,
or learning difference. So we see the bigger picture. We think out of the box. We're the problem solvers. We're very creative. There's so many things that we can do, and not focus on the strength, the things that we can't, because we
what
do
we
have
can't
great
do.
strengths.
Yeah,
Absolutely. So, what
yeah.
would be your advice, Siddhartha, to a somebody who's aspiring journalist and
Mm.
wants to get into, I don't know, one of the big corporations, and feel there's no hope? What advice would you give them?
Oh, and feels as a hope.
Because
Oh,
sometimes with dyslexia and
yeah,
all this
yeah.
neurodiversity, you think, God, where do I go from here? And do I tell my employer? Do I not tell them? We know the BBC is great by accommodating.
Well, that's the
But
thing. I feel like,
mm,
you know how I said that you will get found out. I feel
mm,
like once you are honest about, your what you have, you may find it may open more doors for you than you think. Like BBC have a thing for journalists who are specifically disabled and neurodiverse. And that is like amazing for people like us because, you know, it gets us like, it is a type of like positive discrimination, but it gets our foot through the door and we've got like the support and help that we need. I would say like, a lot of if you're trying to get into journalism, the in for a big broadcaster, that they should have like spaces and things available for people who are neurodiverse. And also just remember that you just bring a different perspective, like just the way you think is different, and so that's going to be a benefit for any company that you work for. I would say like if anyone ever has any questions about getting into journalism, like please contact me. I didn't go through the front door when I got into BBC. I went through I used to work on a program that helps working class young people get into the industry. It's called the Mama Youth Program. And I started at the BBC on like just what was supposed to be a 4-week placement. And I managed to just stay on for, I think, 6 more years by just like networking and just kind of proving myself and proving that I wanted to be here. So yeah, I think there's things like that. There are other like programs and networks that help young people get into the industry as well. So I would say, yeah, just be honest, because you know what they say, like, don't block your blessing. So yeah.
Absolutely amazing. Now that brings us to the end of the show. It's a shame we have to end it here, but I want to say thank you to everybody that joined us, no matter where you joined us from. A big thank you to you. Says that Siddhartha is on all different social media. She's on LinkedIn. She's on Instagram, which is where we found her. We were so happy when we found her. Also, that Elia found her, our researcher, and we were really, really happy to have found you and other people as well on Instagram who are raising awareness of dyslexia and specific learning difficulties across the board. You're doing amazing work, and I just want to say that if anybody wants to connect with Siddhartha, I've got to get that name right. Yeah. You can actually connect with her on her social media handles. We will post with this live video when we finish, and you can connect with her. And I think, Siddhartha, you're going to get loads of responses in your inbox. And again, you can contact HY Dyslexia if you need support with your dyslexia and dyspraxia as well. We are currently running workshops, Create Your Future with Dyslexia, which is for unemployed. If you're unemployed and you've got dyslexia and dyspraxia and other neurodiverse conditions, do email us on info@hydyslexia.org.uk, or you can go on our website www.hydyslexia.org.uk, also known as Aspire to Inspire Dyslexia. You can also follow us on all our social media handles, and drop us the question. No matter what the question is, do drop it for us, and we'll see how best we can support you. Siddhartha, is there anything you want to say before we say goodbye?
No, I was going to just say thank you to all of you, and I really love doing stuff like this, and just carry on being yourself, and remember there's a support group out there for you, and yeah, that's it really.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I just wanted to say one last thing just before you go. You said something really important during our conversation. You said, don't try to hide from it, because the more you hide, the worse that it becomes. And I know I did that.
Yeah.
And I did that. And I ended up tearing
my we all do it. Yeah.
I was all over the place with it. It's until I started speaking about it and you find out, oh, I've got dyslexia and that one's got dyslexia. And you feel, okay, I'm not on my own. It makes you feel a little bit better than maybe living in denial or trying to cover it up, because it doesn't go away. You and I know that. And the older you get, by the way, Siddhartha, the worse it gets.
Thanks.
I just thought, I dropped that one in there before we go. It can become quite chaotic at times.
Yeah.
But, onwards and upwards. And I just want to say thank you to everybody. A special thank you to Elia Onya Morris for doing her research work top notch.
She's amazing. I love Elia.
Yeah. For all the research and all the people that she brings together. Also want to say a very big thank you to Yola, who's the producer behind all these live shows, and all our guests that have appeared on our live show. And do tap into some of the workshops that we're running, personal development for dyslexic people. We're also doing Black Thrive Lambeth. You do get free dyslexia assessment on some of our programs that we run. So do connect with us, either one of our emails, or you can actually ring us. You can send us a WhatsApp message. There's so many different ways that you can contact us. Thank you, everybody. I think we'll see you next week, same time, same place, with a different topic. Bye-bye for now. Bye-bye.
Bye.